Okay, friends, welcome to the part 4 of our astrological study of marriage and relationships through Vedic Jyotish and Vedic astrology. It's been a while since we had discussed this thing the last time, been away for a bit. So let's get back to where we left off. We have seen the impact of specific planets on the seventh bhava, the impact of seventh lord and the influences on seventh lord as it is placed in various houses. And we have also looked at the influences of various planets on the seventh house, not necessarily through its placement there, but otherwise. Today we would go beyond all that and see, more holistically that after you have gone through all this theory, the conceptual part, how to apply it all, bring it together, and where are the missing links? Because whatever we have discussed in the last three chapters, they are pretty well known. But do they add up to a perfect and effective prediction? Do they add up to solving a problem? Not solving a problem, really, no one can solve your problem, that's karma. Let's say solving your queries, clarify your doubts. Let's look at it that way. Most of the problems are because of the confusion. Once you have a grip on that, then the rest you can handle largely. So if we get back to the seventh house again, we have been focusing on the natal chart, the Janma Kundli, and we have been looking at the impact of seventh house, the impact of various planets, and the interplay on the seventh house. Going beyond that, there is the Navamsh Kundli. Our scriptures, our Vedic astrological texts have all of them, invariably they have talked about the Navamsha Chakra being the most important, one of the most important factors in impacting marriage and the spouse. How does that work? So we have seen that, let's say there is a particular planet in the seventh house, there is Venus in the seventh house, and we say no, Venus is not generally good in the seventh house, or there is Sun in the seventh house, which is not generally good, or the seventh lord is placed in so and so house, so it will have this kind of an impact. But that's on the surface level. That's very important, no doubt, but that's on the surface level. If you go to the Navams, you will look at the soul of the planet, the soul of the power. What is the driving force behind what is superficially visible? That's Navams. In certain parts of the country, an astrologer will not accept your horoscope unless it's accompanied by the Navams Kumri. Is that important? It tells you about the soul of the particular planet or the particular house that is under discussion. So the Lagna in Navams, that is said to show your inner drives. Now, in some texts, that also reveals the kind of orientation and approach you have towards a major relationship, towards marriage, for example, or a steady relationship. If you have Scorpio Lagna in Navams, Vrishchik Lagna in Navams, then you're supposed to be impetuous, mysterious, whimsical, very passionate, very intense in your approach towards relationships. Things will happen suddenly. Things may happen beyond, you know, beyond rational logic. Things which don't add up logically. They would happen from inside you. Those drives will come. Or on the other hand, if you have, let's say, Makar or Capricorn as your Navams Lagna, then that's being the structural house of Shani, like most planets except the two luminaries, Ravi, Surya, and Chandra, Sun and the Moon. The other five planets all have twin ownerships. So Shani in Makar is the structural house, the hierarchical the structures of life, the order, the strict discipline, the laws of society, country, nation, the way things are supposed to be. That's Makar Shani for you. So if your Navam's Lagna is in Makar, then your approach towards a major relationship, towards marriage, is going to be very structured, very conventional. The roles and responsibilities would be very rigidly defined. Your expectations and deliverables are also very rigidly defined, not by you, but that's the way it is. So you would just follow what is there around you as per the conventions, laws, and traditions of the setup where you live, your country, your religion, your community, your national laws, etc. So that's going to determine your approach towards relationship and marriage if your Navam's Lagna is Makar. Um, there is another school of thought which says that more than the Navam's Lagna is the Navam's seventh house, which defines your spouse, defines your approach towards the major relationship, towards the marital relationship. This is something for you to try out. You know, I have a case before me where the Kumbh Lagan is in Navam's, Aquarius Lagna in Navam's. So the seventh house is Singha, it's Leo, and this person Surya, the Lord of Leo, is in his Navam's Lagna. So he has Navam's Lagna in Kumbha in Aquarius with Surya with Sun in it, and Saturn, the Navam's Lagna Lord, is in Mercury's house in Kanya in Virgo. Now, if we take this as a practical example of how this thing works, mm, his wife, his spouse, is very conventional, not, mm, you know, she is not the kind of Makar traits which we defined just now. She doesn't have those really. She's quite a cheerful person. She is talkative. She can be very broad-hearted. Um, but then, all in a very structured way. She's not bohemian, if you know what I mean. She's not broad in the bohemian sense. She's not experimentative. She's not adventurous. She's well read, she's intellectually vibrant, but all in within the boundaries of the conventions and the definitions of her social setup, her upbringing, etc. That's Kumbha. The second house of Saturn, Aquarius, is unlike Makara or Capricorn. It's not a strict or rigid house. It's a structured house. It's a structure of distribution, not the structure of hierarchy. Makara is the structure of hierarchy, strict laws as given. Kumbha is the house of distribution, albeit in a structured form, in a structured way. It's like a fair price shop where you go, you queue up. You have to queue up over there, and the pricing is given. There's no bargaining over there. There's no latitude in brand choice, etc. But then it's a place which gives things. It's a place where you can go and transact. You can smile with the vendor. You can kind of give you a requirement. You can check the weight. You can check the packaging. You can have a back and forth transaction. It's not like Makar, which is completely no nonsense. So this lady, this person whose horoscope we have been discussing, his wife, is the Kumbha type. So that's remarkable because his Lagna in Navamsa is in Kumbha. Surya is there, Sun is there in Kumbha. So he has been having a perpetual ego tussle with his wife ever since they met, right from the courtship days. Mm, and that ego tussle is very major, very, very, very major. Difference of opinions, difference in views, difference in priorities, difference in the basic paradigm towards life. and both are rigid and both are well entrenched in their individual positions. So there, having Surya or Sun in Kumbha in Navam's Lagna is, indeed giving all the traits of solar domination, if I may use the word, solar oppression, the oppression which comes out of having Surya in a tender house, particularly anything to do with marriage or relationships. Um, the Lord of Kumbha, as I said, is in Shani, is in Kanya Navamsh, in the Navamsh Kundali in Virgo, which is the eighth house from Kumbha. So, how has that impacted? Now, if you see this gentleman, the gentleman with Kumbha Navamsh Lagna, um, he is a complex person with a very complex life, with a lot of complications in life. So in Shani in eighth in Navamsh, does it explain that, or does it explain the fact that his relationship with his wife is very complicated? Because eighth house is a house of complications. Mm, but eighth house falling in the house of Mercury in Kanya would bring the mercurial element into this. His wife is not mercurial, whereas he is mercurial. He has a lot of good Mercury impact, influence in his get-up as a person, in his looks, in his nature. There's a lot of Mercury. So his Navamsh Lagna Lord being in the house of Mercury in Navamsh again describes him more than his wife. So where does that leave us? Let's go to his wife's Navamsh Kundli and see what it tells us about her spouse. Her Navamsh Lagna is in Pisces in me, um, and her the Lord of Navamsh Lagna Guru is in Uch Navamsh in Karkat, exalted Navamsh in Cancer. So what does it tell you about her marriage or she as a person? And the seventh house in Navamsh obviously then is Kanya, Virgo. Now this gentleman, like I said, is very mercurial. He has a lot of Mercury traits in his looks as well as his nature, his life, his occupation, his profession. There's a lot of Mercury both in it. This lady's Navam's seventh house is owned by both. That's Kanya. So if we take that approach, then her Navam's seventh house describes her spouse a lot. Um, and interestingly, if you come back to her Navam's Lagna, mean the Lord Jupiter being in Karkat, that also is her husband's Lagna. So her husband has Karkat Lagna, and this lady's Navam's Lord is in Karkat. So from both sides, you can see this thing working. From both sides, from Navam's Lagna and from seventh house from Navam's Lagna, this appears to work. So this tells us that it will definitely be very useful if we take a good hard look at the Navam's Kundli in trying to understand the marital dynamics. In timing of marriage, this Navam's Kundli becomes very, very important. You will find that the Navam's Lagna Lord or the Navam's seventh Lord may, in many cases, be the Dasa Lord or the Antar Dasa Lord at the time of marriage. But not in 100% cases. Marriage timing would also depend on which planet is in seventh house, the nakshatra of seventh house Lord, which planets are in the nakshatra of the seventh house lord, as well as in which planet's nakshatra the seventh house lord is positioned. Both factors will have to be taken into consideration. Um, this gentleman got married in Rahu Shani, this particular horoscope which we are discussing today. So Shani, I'm sorry, he got married. He didn't get married in Rahu Shani. He met his wife. The relationship started in Rahu Shani, and it culminated in marriage. It was a long, steady relationship. Long, steady. From day one, it was understood that they will be married. For years, that's the way it continued. It was very social, very overt. Everyone knew that they were going to be married. And ultimately, he got married in Rahu Venus. So his Navang's Lagna Lord Shani created the situation where he met his to-be wife and immediately got engaged, got into a relationship with her, which was like marriage. That was a gift of Shani. And ultimately, the marriage happened in Antardasha of Venus. Because you see, his Shani, which is also the seventh lord, his seventh lord is not only is his Navang Lagna Lord Shani, but also his seventh lord in the Jan Kundali is Shani. And Shani is in the nakshatra of Venus, Shukra's nakshatra. And Shukra and Shani is also, you know, mm, in his horoscope, Shani is the Amatya Karak. It's the in Char Karak, in Parasari and Gemini Char Karak. It's the second Karak, second factor, which is Amatya Karak. As you know, Atma Karak is first, and Amatya Karak is second, Bhatri Karak third, Matri Karak fourth, and fifth is Putra Karak, sixth is Gyati Karak, and seventh is Jaya Karak. In the Char Karak's scheme of things, their Saturn is Amatya Karak, which is the house of contacts, which is the house of, the Karaka for relationships, Karaka for contacts. Now, Shani really has a very major bearing on his relationships and marriage. It's the seventh lord, and it's also the Navamsh Lagna lord. It's in the nakshatra of Venus. Rahu also is in the nakshatra of Venus in his horoscope and is positioned in the second house. Rahu, in the house of relationship, second house, and is in the nakshatra of Venus. Venus is the natural karaka for marriage and relationships. And Venus in his horoscope is in Tula, in his own moon Trikan sign. Is very, very powerfully placed there. And it's Vargottam in his Navamsh, which is in the same Navamsh in his Navamsh chakra is in the same house as in his Jan Kundli. It's in Tula. So you have seen that how the Navamsh Kundli plays an important role in marriage timing too, but it's not the sole factor. It's not the only decisive factor. In this gentleman's Navamsh Kundli, like I said, Venus is in Libra, which is the ninth house from his Navamsh Lagna Lord. But that would not per se have a bearing on his marriage. It just further strengthens Venus, no doubt. Not per se have a bearing on the timing of marriage, which is coming through the nakshatra placement of Saturn. It's coming through, you know, nakshatra placement of Rahu, and the fact that Saturn is both the seventh house lord and the Navam's Lagna lord. Now, in his wife's horoscope, since we are seeing this as a pair, she got married in Rahu, and a relationship started with this gentleman in the Dasha of Mangal, Mas Dasha. Her Rahu is in Kanya again, third house. in her natal chart, which happens to be the seventh house in her Navang's Kundli. If you remember, her Navang's Lord is in Me, is in Pisces, and so that makes Kanya the seventh house, and that's where in her natal chart Rahu is placed. That Kanya becomes a very important house for us, where relationships are concerned. Just like, you know, in this gentleman's Navang's Kundli, Singha, Leo is the seventh house, his Lagna, Navang's Lagna being in Kumbha. And in his natal chart, Rahu is in Singha, in Leo, and he got married in Rahu Dasa. You see, that house, once it's defined by the Navang's Kundli, both the Navang's Lagna and the seventh Navang's, that house becomes decisive. And it can be, it's interchangeable between the Navang's chakra, the Navang's Kundli and the Jan chakra, the Jan Kundli. So her Rahu is in Kanya. Her Rahu also aspects the seventh house, full aspect, full on aspect on her seventh house. Um, Rahu being in Kanya also is very strong, because Kanya, many of us look at Kanya as the own house of Rahu. Rahu is in own sign when it's in Kanya. That makes it all that much more powerful. Her seventh lord is also Shani, and her seventh lord is in the nakshatra of Ketu, and Ketu is in the ninth house. The ninth house in a female horoscope is very significant in where our marriage and progeny are concerned. Good things, in life, particularly in the, let's say, society like India, where marriage is a very important positive aspect in for a lady. See, because these things largely depend on the social context, like we have been saying from the very first session of our lessons in Vedic astrology. These things largely are relative and depend on the social context. So, in Indian society, you will find ninth is a very important house for ladies where marriage is concerned. So her, Ketu being the nakshatra lord of her seventh lord is in ninth, in the house of Jupiter. Uh, and if you remember, her Navangsh Lagna lord is Jupiter. So there again a connection is set. She had met this gentleman in her Mangal Dasha, Mangal or Mars in a female horoscope is the Karaka for the mate, Karaka for the men in her life. And this was, I'm told, her first or only major relationship in life, any only meaningful relationship in life. So that's Mars for you. Mars gave her the male partner. This was at the very beginning of Mars Dasha. If we do birth year time correction, that is something we'll get into a later series. When we'll decide or we'll look at the various options in Indian astrology of defining the year. When you say 1 year, when you say Rahu Dasha is for 18 years, what does the 18 years mean? How long is the 18 year? In the Gregorian calendar, in the solar calendar, let's say, we have 365 days and 1/4, because every leap year you have another day. Every 4 years you have another day getting added on. So this 365 and 1/4 day constitutes one year. Whereas there are alternative theories in this. Today is not the right time for that. If through a correction which I often do, and like I promised, I'll get back to you on that. She would be running Mars Rahu when she met this gentleman, and so there again, she got married in Rahu, and she met this gentleman in Mars Rahu. So Rahu becomes a very, very important factor for her. in her relationship in marriage. You see, if you get into the depths of Rahu, like we have discussed in our in other episodes of the series, it always takes you where you don't belong, and it shows others and shows you what aren't there, what appears to be there, but then what is not true. Rahu always has alternative agenda, undisclosed agenda. So this lady says that her married life was very different from what she thought it would be. What she thought about him, he turned out to be very different, very different, radically different. As she discovered later in life over a period of time. And true to Rahu, her initial married life was very disturbed and very unstable. She had a lot of problems in her in-laws' place. She had to move out of home base. They both had to, as a couple, move out of home base and literally run away from their home base and face considerable economic hardships because of that. Even though they did not have really, they had everything going, but this instability, the destabilization was caused by Rahu. A lot of uncertainty was there economically and otherwise during this entire period of Rahu for her. So, friends, we have seen today that how, in practical terms, we can apply the various theories of astrology in understanding a particular couple's horoscope or a particular person's horoscope on the marital front. We'll get back to you with more soon. And in the meantime, please, as always, let us have your feedback. Thank you. Have a good day.